Welcome to First Alarm Family First. I'm Jen Herrera alongside Carolyn Acosta, and we have another first responder wife with us, which is always very exciting, right, Carolyn?
Yes, today I'm excited to sit down today with Eileen Tortorici, a licensed mental health clinician with 30 years in the field, a wife of a military veteran who also serves as a police officer for 36 years. Eileen brings a unique perspective, both as a professional helping families and someone who also knows firsthand what it is to live with a first responder at home. Today we'll talk about the career, her experience as a first responder spouse, and the lessons she's learned. Welcome.
Hi, thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be with you.
Yeah. So, what drew you into the mental health field? Let's start there.
You know, I actually started very young in this field. I always liked the psychological part. I was in therapy as a teenager, and I saw how much it helped me, and therefore she kind of opened the doors for me to just pursue the mental health field. So I knew early on that this is the area I wanted to target, and I love what I do. I always tell my children this is not. I don't feel like I work because it's truly a vocation and I enjoy everything that I do. So it definitely started when I was young.
I think it's funny that when Carolyn was introducing you and saying, she said like the first responder wife part, you kind of like rolled your eyes and giggled. And we all, right, we all make that face like, yeah, that's who we are. I mean, why do you make that face? I know why we make the face, right? Why do you make the face?
Because I feel like that's such a loaded statement, you know?
Right.
It's just not being a wife. Being a wife in itself comes with so many areas and so many layers. And on top of that, you add the first responder to it. It just makes it so much more complex than that. And she was introducing it. My husband and I have been together now for 30 years. We've been married for 27. And I'm not the same wife I was 27 years ago. And I've learned so much through the years on how to be a first responder wife, right? Because at the very beginning, I don't think I was a very good first responder.
Do you think being married to a veteran who's also a police officer, was it like difficult? Would you say was it challenging?
I think that aspect of his life, as even the first responder part of his life, he keeps very personal. I found it interesting. We were going through some of our stuff, like in just going through the attic and just kind of or trying to organize things. And his big duffel bag, his military duffel bag, was one of the items. And like I said, we've been married for 27, together for 30, and it was like 2 years ago that we finally like opened this duffel bag of his that he had brought when he had been deployed over to Iraq. And my daughter was there and my son was there. And we just kind of started. But at first, it was like even he didn't even want to open it to kind of go through what was there. And then when we did open it was kind of like, oh, just throw it away. Just that we don't need that, or we don't really need any of that. And my daughter was like, but Dad, I really like, like the uniform. It was like the formal uniform, and it had his name, and she was just like, I want to keep this and I want to keep this. And that kind of softened him, and he kind of started seeing it from a different perspective. But I think initially it was more of like, just put that away. So that part of him, he keeps very personal. And I do respect that. And I did see that softening when we were going through like the duffel bag. And I want to be very respectful of him too and his privacy and stuff. So I always kind of like back off and give him that space.
Yeah. And I think that's important. We want them to share. We want them to know that they can share, right? But not forcing them
Exactly.
to share because
Exactly.
I think like now that we know what we know, Carolyn, right? I feel like I want to ask 100 questions, all the time. But it's like you said, I'm like, okay, let's give them that space. You said a few minutes ago that you've learned how to be a first responder wife, that you don't think you necessarily did a great job of it in the
I
beginning,
get it.
right? Where do you think you slipped? Because we all slipped. Boy, I mean, I can give you lots of examples. Where would you say you slipped?
You know, I wouldn't change our journey, right? Because I think our journey has gotten us to where we're at, and I love where we're at as a couple. I love where we're at as a family. But I didn't understand his shutdown modes were just his own shutdown modes. I took it so personal, and I took it more as he doesn't love me, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't want to be with me. I took that very personal. And I didn't understand that this was about his kind of just needing that mental space and that moment of kind of regrouping. And I think we all need that. But I feel like for first responders, it just looks a little different. At times, they might look even a little aloof to us. And it's like, wait a second, like what's going on here? So I definitely had to change my mindset and understand that this is not about me, even though my feelings were valid in the sense, but it wasn't about me. I had to understand how he, saw things. We did go to therapy. I'm sharing that, but I think that that's, I want to open the mental health, not stigma and take that away. So I was very appreciative that he was open to it. And I think that also helped us because even though I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm his wife.
Right.
So I don't, when I'm in that mode, I'm wife. I'm not kind of looking at it. So I really, our therapist is amazing and was amazing, is amazing. She really helped me understand, like, you got to stop, you need to switch the mode, which is funny too, because when I would switch sometimes, I get that, stop treating me like one of your clients. I'm not one of your clients.
Oh, I bet.
I'm not one of your clients. Why are you I still get that to this day. I'm like, I'm not. Truly, I am I'm trying to do it, but I'm not. So I do get that, excuse me, from him now. Like, stop talking to me that way, or I'm not one of your patients, or whatever. I'm like, I know. So I think learning all of that really just helped me become a better first responder wife.
Yeah, that's all. So, how has being married to someone in law enforcement like shaped your family life?
That's really a tough one. So I think again, it's changed through the years as well. I mean, I was thinking this morning as I was getting ready for the day, and I knew I was going to sit down with you, and I was thinking, like, what are some things I would want to just kind of share? And I remember my daughter Aubrey. She must have been 3 or 4 months, and I don't remember the hurricane that came by, but I was home alone with a 3-month-old, 5-year-old. I remember hiding in the closet because it was like the tornadoes were kind of close to us with this little 3-month-old. And once everything had passed, I was talking to him on the phone, going over, like, kind of surveying our damage and telling him, oh, like some of the tiles fell off the rooftop. And I could hear that he wanted to be with us, but yet he wasn't. So here I am with this 3-month-old, 5-year-old alone in a house and trying to survey what had gone on. So I think that shaped me as well as my children. Like, we can do this. It's okay, daddy. Daddy will be home. And he always left us so set up. Like, he would put up the shutters. Everything was inside. I mean, every time he leaves, it's not like I'm by myself. He leaves everything so set up that I feel comfortable, with him having to do, when he has to go to the station and just stay at the station for those. But so I think that's one of the areas too. And I think another area that really kind of like hit me, not that I want to be political in any way, shape, or form, is but when the climate has been difficult for the police officers in the political sense, just to hear my daughter tell my husband as he's walking out, Daddy, please be careful. Daddy, please be safe. And seeing that it's this genuine, she's fearful for his well-being, that really touches me because that hurts me now 10 times over because it's my husband walking out the door. It's my daughter saying this. And I've also had to help her navigate through some of her friendships where they may say certain things, especially in that political climate, that is hurtful. And they don't realize that she's internalizing this because it's her father that is out there as a police officer. So I've had to help navigate through that. My son's a little tougher in the sense that he's very like, it's my dad. I'm proud of what he does. And he kind of just takes it a little different. But Aubrey's definitely, had to help navigate through those. So I think those are areas that being married to that first responder has shaped our family and the conversations we have. Be careful, be safe, make sure you come home to us. Like, these are all real conversations. These are not words that you just say. You're meaning this. You're genuinely saying, come home to us.
Sometimes, like at the end of a busy day, if Jason's on shift, I'm like, I'll be in bed and I don't like to sleep with my phone right next to me. So it's like, I have to get out of bed. Let me put it that way to get to my phone. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't text him good night. And then it's like the reality is it's like, God forbid, because there's a bigger chance that something can happen when you're with a first responder and they're on shift. And so
I
it's like,
agree.
let me get out of bed. I'm gonna send that text. Eileen is a little different for me because I was raised by a firefighter. So I think the transition as far as meeting Jason, dating Jason, marrying Jason, I knew what to expect. All of the things you just touched on, man, I mean, I want to keep talking about them because they're so real. I know that Carolyn and I can both relate to those. Was that a hard adjustment for you though, in the early days, learning what it truly means to be a partner with a first responder?
I, those Friday nights that you're just home alone and you're just married, recently married. Like I think back that we had just gotten married and I'm like on a Friday night by myself watching a movie, popcorn, and you know, he's working. So you're home alone and you expect your newlyweds to just kind of be together. So those are all just experiences that go through and you're like, wow, this is looks a little different than having your date night when you're first married. So yeah, I also think that one of the areas that was kind of the adjustment, I think, and again, I don't want to offend anyone by saying this, but I think boys will be boys type of thing. And I see that even his girls that, police officers, they have like this, it's like a little brotherhood. I'm sure you see it with the firefighters. And I think even their comic relief with each other is different. So when we would go out to dinner or we would get together, it's like, okay, you guys are really, out there with your jokes and so just understanding like, okay, this is them, this is who they are, and not taking it so personal. I mean, they get on the phone now and I hear them talking around the house still to this day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are they really saying that to each other? Or are they really, and they're joking around. And I just laugh. I don't take it personal. He knows that that's not the type of conversation that necessarily he may have with me or his daughter, but probably his son. So I think even that's an adjustment as well.
So what have you learned, like as far as like lessons learned living this lifestyle as a first responder wife? What have you learned about yourself?
So I think just I've become more patient, a lot more patient. I was someone that, I'd like to know things like right away. And he may not be ready to talk about things right away, or he may never tell me a certain thing. One of the things, and this I owe to our therapist when we were in therapy, was that he needs very space. So like for example, he'll come home and he kind of like walks around the house outside, not necessarily walk in right away. He just walks around the house. He may talk on the phone, or he just may just walk around the house, go to the pool, do the pool stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, he's in full uniform. Like, why are you out there in this heat, or doing the pool, or doing whatever? And she helped me understand, like, this is his time, like his time to decompress, and he just needs that space. So I did learn that for sure as a first responder wife. I also I, I'm proud. I have this sense of proudness. I'm very proud of what my husband does. It took me a while. At first, I was like, whatever. But no, I'm very proud of what he does. And I'm proud of the man he is. I'm proud of the provider he is, the protector he is, because I think that that's just in their nature to be protectors. And I see even with my daughter and my son, he's just such a protector, and he wants to sometimes just fix everything. And I have to tell him like, hey, we can't. We got to just kind of let things go a little. So even helping guide that, I learned to do better as well, because at first it was like, why are you doing that? I understand why now. I understand why he needs everything to be a certain way. So that took me a while as well.
That protective state, I think it's interesting because it goes into overdrive sometimes and I watch it happen. It's like, okay, they're protective. And then sometimes it's an entirely different level. Our daughters are teenagers. One of them's driving. One of them's always with her or with friends. And while I would say that I'm 100% the disciplinarian in our house, there are certain things, Eileen, that he just like won't budge on, loses his shit on like in 2 seconds. And it's those dangerous things.
Right. 100% agree with you. And that's another thing too. Like I've learned, obviously our children are in different stages in life and you kind of have to adjust to a different phase in life. And my children are older, and my daughter's definitely at an age where she wants to go out, to a club, to this. And he just like, he has such a difficult time. And his response to me is, you don't know what I've seen. You don't know what I know. And it's such a tug of war, because at the same time, I don't want to deprive her from her youth and her experiences. But I also need to remember he has seen and he does know those dangers. So to reach those compromises, it's definitely tough. Yes, it's definitely hard.
So, in your clinician, opinion, what kind of progress have you seen in the conversation of mental health in the first responder community?
Honestly, I hate to say this. I don't feel like I've seen enough, to be honest with you. Um, I think my husband has come a long way in that area because was married or is married to me. And I am so open about it that to me, I was like, oh, let's go to therapy. The kids need therapy. Oh, like, I'm just so like therapy. And obviously he's seeing me through my years as a clinician that, has evolved as well. And he's seen the benefits, from me just working. So I think for him, it's been easier to accept it. But I hear like his friends, and I feel like it's in general, it's not prioritized. It still has a stigma. It's not prioritized. And for me, I know I mentioned this to Carolyn about, I just feel like there should be a housed mental health person in every station, period. And like I said to Carolyn, I don't think it's going to start right away because there is going to be that stigma. But I feel like just opening the door enough where they're there. They're comfortable saying hi in the hallways. There's a familiar face. It starts breaking down that barrier. It starts breaking down the stigma. It starts breaking down the just overall like negativity. And I think that that's something that we need to continue to work on because, and again, I'm hoping we're making progress. I know what you ladies are doing are phenomenal. It's amazing, like bringing such awareness, but I don't think it's enough. I would love to see so much more.
That person in the stations, whether it's a police station, whether it's a fire station, how important is it that they know the job? We throw culturally competent, culturally competent, culturally competent. I feel like we say it like we're broken records here. But how important is that? Because I know for a fact that they're not going to talk to anybody. They could see somebody in the hallway every single day. And if they think they have no idea what their day looks like, they're going to walk by them 100 times and not think twice.
100, I agree with you 100%. That person needs to know the culture and they need to understand. They need to understand even the heightened level that these first responders are in. They never shut down. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but I know like my husband is on call. He does like THIs. So it's like any traffic homicide. He's one of the people that get called out to. And when he's on call for that, it's like he doesn't sleep. He's always like on if his phone rings, if there's a this, like the heightened level that these first responders live at is not your typical heightened awareness. It's what we call that fight or flight mode constantly. And I think that you need to understand that even if they're home with their families, they're still at that heightened level. And their mental thoughts, what's going on mentally, these are all things that we need to understand, like the clinician need to know. And I know I shared this also with Carolyn. It's even like treating the family, because I really feel like it's a systemic thing. It's not just just the one. If we could start with one, amazing. But I think overall awareness is important. But I remember like I heard this from another wife, and it just stayed with me, was the sound of Velcro in the middle of the night. You will not understand how amazing that sound of Velcro is until you are a first responder wife. I remember like sleeping, but not sleeping. And then all of a sudden he would do his vest, or he does his vest like far away, so not to necessarily wake me up. But the minute I just hear the vest Velcro, I'm like, okay, I could just go sleep now. It's that sound is embedded in my brain like no other.
It's true. It's absolutely true. So they're home. It's like you don't sleep. Yeah, absolutely.
So to answer that just more specifically, I think the person needs to be very well versed with their culture, the way that they are, how their mindset is. Never have that quiet space for them. It's very hard to find. So they need to be very aware of that for first responder.
What's one thing you wish you knew earlier in your marriage that might have made things easier?
You know, I wish, right, to go back in time. When I was younger, I wish I would have made it less about me and more about just him and us, and less take things so personal. I was so worried about he doesn't love me, he doesn't care, he doesn't this. And I'm like, why was I so stupid? Sorry, but it is. I'm like, why? What was I? And it hurt our marriage. And like I said, it's not something that I would take back, in the sense that it brought us to where we're at. But I wasted time, that we could have been enjoying, and I didn't have to be so silly.
And I think we all do that because I think that's why we're doing these podcasts. So like more wives can be a little more informed of like what they go through. We're trying to explain, because honestly, I did it all the time too. I wish I wouldn't like sweat the little things.
Yeah, even with like when I, with the kids, I was always like, why is he not more involved, or why is he not doing more of this or whatever? And it was me, like nitpicking at certain things and not really understanding where he was at.
Eileen, do any of your children have any interest in law enforcement, or have they gotten into law enforcement?
So this is going to be a not very nice comment, but I told them they cannot be in the field for my own sake. And again, please, I respect my husband. I thank everybody for their service. But as a mom, I don't think I could can handle that. So I have, my son is in law school currently. So he's in law school. And Aubrey is majoring in psychology. And I think she also wants to go to law school. Let's see. But she's actually wanted to do some ride-alongs with dad, and dad's been the one to say no. So let's wait a little bit. Let's wait here. But she's, out of both of them, she's actually the one that's leaning more towards that area.
Or she can be like you and be a culturally competent
Exactly.
clinician if she's majoring in psychology. Do those ride-alongs, right? Learn what it's like, and then
Absolutely.
And she'll be so respected because she grew up with it. And just like how you mentioned earlier, she has had those really hard conversations with her friends during a very heated time in our country.
Correct. Yes. So, and my husband actually comes, like, his dad was a firefighter. A police officer. His brother's a police officer. So their family is definitely a family of law enforcement. But even he told me, he's like, I don't want my kids to be, in the field.
My dad said the same thing. He didn't want any of us to become firefighters. So we married him, but we didn't become.
Listen, it may happen, but yeah, he's definitely, he said, I don't want either of the kids in the field. So we'll see. Listen, they're both, my oldest is in law school. She's still finding her way, and whatever God has for them and the plan, it'll be. So
thank you. This has been,
yes, it has.
Thank you both.
We love that you're here. We love that you're helping. We love that people can go to you. How do they find you, Eileen, if somebody's interested in working with you?
I believe my number is on, if you Google my name, it comes sadly enough, it's there. I've had private practice for many years, so it's still the same number in private practice. So you can find me there.
I love it. It's awesome. Good stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you for spending the afternoon with us and sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, for everything that you're doing. I think what you're doing is amazing and God sent. So from my standpoint as a first responder wife, what you're doing is amazing. And I thank you for it. I thank you for bringing the awareness. So thank you, and continue on your journey with it.
And we love to leave with this reminder that if you see something, to sound the alarm.
Save a life.